Okay, so now I want to show you how to apply what we learned in the previous lesson to a figure. So let's say I'm doing some figure drawing, and this is the model. Now, one of the things I could do is use the box method, and I could just, put this person in a box and figure out, roughly what's the middle of this box and all that. But I don't know, it's too difficult for me to do that when I do figure drawings. So what I like to focus on then is angles and relationships, especially relationships. So you can see her body has an angle to it, right? It's got this angle. Maybe I'll use a different color. Green. It's got this angle to it. So that's what I'm going to try and get down first. And there's another interesting thing with drawing, and I'm not sure if this is just for me or for people in general, but let's say you're drawing and you start drawing this way, and I see a lot of people draw this way, where you kind of can scratch your lines down, you get the head, and then you put down a neck, and you try and get the shoulder and all that. It's harder to maintain proportions when you work this way than if you were to actually think of it more like a stick figure. If I just got the head, the shoulders, and then the legs and all that, it's much easier to build the proportions from a stick figure than it is to build it from a more clean version. And it's rough, and you can continually make changes. So just because you put the stick figure down, it doesn't mean you don't change anything. And it's a lot easier to change something when you haven't spent much time. So let's say I put the shoulders here, and I have the legs, and then I realize, like, oh, the shoulders are wrong. It's much easier to just, change the angle, I don't know, put a leg up here, because I haven't spent that much time. But if you were to, draw the leg and spend a lot of time, then you don't really want to change the position, because it's like, I already spent all this time drawing this stuff. Maybe I'll just make it fit somehow, right? So anyway, so the first thing I see is that angle, and I would get that down. Okay, so this is pretty much the whole thing for me now. Like, everything I do is going to be based on this, because that's the first angle. Now, the next thing I want to do is look at relationships, and I like to look at what's touching the ground. So usually it's just the feet, but in this case it's also the hand and, the butt's touching the ground. And I like to work this way because it's like a tree, right? You start from the roots and you go up, as opposed to starting at the head, which would be like starting at the leaves, right? So I'm going to look, so I have this angle, and I'm going to look at what's touching the ground and where's the ground. So if I look at this picture, kind of see there's a horizon around here. Seeing it around there. Green. Maybe it's not there. No, I think it's around here. Anyway, so I'm going to guess that horizon. Just put that in. And now what I've done is sort of created a fake environment. So I know the person's body's here, and then the horizon's back here, or the background starts around here. So that means this person is sitting in space somewhere around here, right? So now I have this angle, and I see that you have this, and then you have this arm going down and touching the ground here. So that's the next thing I want to look at. I see the hand touches the ground, this leg touches the ground, and this foot touches the ground. what else do I see? Well, I see this knee and its relation to this knee. So that's what I'm going to really focus on. So I'm going to get this hand touching the ground, and then this knee, and look at this angle. From this knee to this hand, what's that? It's almost a straight line, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Almost a straight line. This is kind of, you know, maybe a little bit off to the side, this knee. And now I'm going to draw in that hand, or the arm. Can get the shoulders. I know the knee's here. I know the other knee is here. So I'm comparing this distance. And just by doing that, I see that, okay, this angle's like this, and my angle's like that. I could just use my measuring technique or checking technique by holding up my pen to see, okay, it needs to be more like that. So no problem. Just put that in more like that. And then this foot touches there's like a foot here touching the ground, say around here. And then there's another foot here. So now what else? So let's get in the other hand. And I like to get in these floating points. So I like to get in the, how can I explain this? All right, so let's say I was drawing the shoulder, right? You could draw the shoulder and then draw the arm down and then get the elbow. So that's point A, point B, and then move from the elbow down and get the hand, point C. So that's one way of going about it. But what I like to do is instead, this can get out of proportion. You can quickly end up like the elbow's kind of right, and then the shoulder's right, and then the elbow's a bit off, and then the hand, and you don't really notice it until you step back and it's like, whoa, this is wrong, because the elbow pretty much is halfway, right, from the shoulder to the wrist. So what I like to do is, again, as I said, I start from the thing that's touching the ground usually, but I don't have to. I could start with the elbow or the shoulder. So I get the shoulder, I get the wrist, I know the elbow's halfway, and then I connect those two. So it goes point A, point B, and then point C. And this is really useful when you do things like this, where if I was just freehanding it without any preparation, I might get the shoulder and then go down to the elbow, and then go from the elbow to the hand, and then I get that gun. But now look at what's happened with this distance between the shoulder here and the hand here, whereas the real distance is really close. So what I would do instead is, I know the shoulder's here, I look for where the hand is. The hand's like really close to it, so I put the hand down. Then I look for where the elbow is. Well, the elbow's kind of straight down-ish from that point, and then I connect the two. Now, I can look at this elbow then, and I can look at this knee, and like, yeah, they're pretty close. So I can put that knee down again, and then I can correct my drawing. So I'm constantly correcting. And it looks messy and it looks bad, but the reality is when I actually draw this way, it's very fast and it's very light. So maybe I'll just show you what I'd really draw like. Okay, so I see this, I get this angle down, get this hand that's touching the ground. What else is touching the ground? The knee. Okay, there's that part, the knee's here. Okay, the knee's here and the elbow's here, the hand's here. We get this kind of shape, this triangle. So yeah, get that down. Okay, the hand's here and the shoulder's here. Okay, so now I can connect this. Now I have the hand placement. Okay, and then we have like a gun here, and that angle is important, so I'll fix that. Get that angle the same. Okay, now I go back to the knee, and okay, we have the feet here. So okay, one of them is touching the ground here, and then the other one's really close. So this ends, like the tip of this boot is close to that. So I'm gonna make sure that I remember that. Okay, there's another foot around here. Then you got this tip of this boot. And now you have the, I don't know, the butt area, and that's pretty close to this hand. So, okay, so there's the butt and it's close to that hand. I get this, and now I have to correct this because we had, this was my original line where I drew this and then I drew that and I went down. So this was actually representing the shoulders, but that's way off, right? But it's so light that it doesn't matter. I just, oops, there. Okay, so now I've corrected it. So I've got the shoulders actually here. And you'll notice I haven't done any head yet. There's no, I haven't drawn the head in yet. So I get this proportion. Now we have this body. And now for the head, I think I've mentioned in another tutorial how I go about drawing heads, is that you can get the shoulder and then go up and then create a triangle and get the top of the head. So let's do that. Get the top of the heads around here. And then I know the head fits within this space. And then you have this hat and it's going at an angle. So now I'm going to look at this, the shoulder, and this, the hat. And also this is a shape that's created, right? So what I can do is then, okay, I have my shoulder here. The hat is going to be just a little bit above that. And I have this angle. And now I can put in that hat. So it starts to get pretty quick when you draw this way, because it's all loose. And I'm just quickly putting things, and I can start building from that. So it's like, okay, so I know the leg is here, boot goes down, we have some stuff here, get that. So it's easier to build something out of something than to build something out of nothing. So I'm just getting down the something right now. It's like, okay, got stuff here, got this dress, and again, it's got an angle to it. It's going around this form. So I want to get that. And pretty much this is it for the rough guide. Now at this point, what you could do is you could actually just erase this whole thing, like very lightly. I mean, you don't want to completely get rid of it, and then continue to define it. So again, I start usually pretty light, so more like this. Get the arm. And then it's more like correcting. And this is just one way of drawing. You don't have to draw this way. If you don't like this method, you know, don't worry about it. Just do what works for you. And actually, I don't, like, I'll use this, but when I really draw now, because this lesson is all about proportions, because I see a lot of people have issues with proportions. But when I draw now, I really focus on gesture. So I would push the gesture, and I don't care as much about correct proportions. I'm more interested in the gesture. But I do think it is important to start with worrying about proportions, you know, like learn the rules before you break them. So here I can just flesh things out. And the more that you have down that's correct, the easier it is to do this, because you can just compare something to something else. So if I know that this shoulder is placed right, then I can find this shape. Right? So everything builds on everything else. Anyway. And otherwise, this would be pretty complicated. I mean, it's not like a really easy pose to get. So it's about breaking it down, making it much more easy. So now there's a knee there. You can get this. This goes up. But I hope you can see all the things I'm applying from those basics. So like her head fits in this kind of shape. Got her forehead, you've got some ribbons. Kind of comes up. Got the eyes in here. And again, I can break things down. So what I'm doing when I just sketch is, and this is something that you don't really see when you see someone draw, is you don't see their thought process. And so when you're seeing them draw, it might look like, I don't know, magic. Like, wow, you're so good, I can't do that. But what you're not seeing is what they're thinking about, right? And what they're thinking about, it might not be that complicated. It's just that they're doing a lot of simple things very quickly because you've practiced it. So when I draw this shape, I'm like the shape of the face, I'm thinking about a few things. First of all, this angle between the eyebrows, so I might get that in. And I'm going to just really slow down. So, okay, if this is the angle for the eyebrows, then the nose is going to be at the same angle, so I might get that in. Then the mouth is going to be at this angle from the corners of the mouth. I get that in. Okay, from knowing anatomy, I know how the side of the face comes in. And maybe I'll zoom in on this. So I know how the nose goes around, and it kind of connects to the eyebrow. Like there's this kind of rhythm that goes. So I can get that in. Oops. Get my eye in here. Other eye in here. Again, that's following that same angle. Get the other eyebrow. Get the hair in. And I see that this could be altered because I need more. So either I bring this shoulder higher, this one, or this lower, because I want this to be more the same as what I see, right? And I do see she has more hair, so I'm gonna take some of this away. And then you have the hair coming down. It's going around here. You have a piece of hair coming around there. And it just builds. It's constantly building. And then things look like, I don't know. Wow, I couldn't draw that. But it's like, no, you just have to practice the basic things, and then it builds on each other. Get the ribbon. More hair. And now I'm just going to be loose because I don't care. I don't know, it's really hard for me now to draw stiff because I've switched to drawing much more loose, and I really prefer drawing that way. But I did start off drawing more stiff, and you know, the ultimate form, I suppose, of being great at copying angles and getting everything just perfect is that you can become a really good photocopier. So there's people who can draw very photorealistic, and I'm not impressed at all. Like, I know a lot of people get really impressed by that, but to me it's just like, yeah, you got really good at copying values, angles, shapes, proportions, but so like, yeah, I don't know, like maybe it's cool. I shouldn't judge. but at the same time, I'm gonna. No, it's okay. I'm not that impressed, and I feel like, where's you? What's your opinion, right? Like, what do you see? And that's why I like caricaturing things. I like exaggerating things, like putting my own take on it. What's my opinion of this thing? Not just what do I see in front of me, or oh, can I do a photorealistic render of this? Because that's just skill. That's just meh. Alright, anyway. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to keep going with this. I think all the main points have been made about what I'm actually thinking when I do this. Like, I look at this, and what I'm looking at is this point and this point, and trying to get that shape. Like, I see this shape here, this triangle shape. I'm trying to get that in the negative space, and I don't have it. So I correct for that. Like, okay, so I didn't get that. I can get that. But honestly, this is fabric, so this doesn't really matter. Like, I could do anything with this as long as the basic anatomy is right. So let's say the arm goes like this. There's a shoulder, there's an elbow here. Fine, we get that. Body comes around. Get things going like this. I could push this way out. Still gonna be fine. If someone sees this, they're not gonna be like, "Oh my God, that's wrong." It's like, no, it's a piece of fabric. Who cares? Anyway, I think I'm getting completely sidetracked, but I do think I've kind of shown the thinking process I take. And again, since this is all about proportion, yeah, this is kind of how I go about getting proportions right. It's all about, finding angles and finding relationships. What is, like, the shoulder is here compared to what? Where's the elbow? The elbow's here. Where's the hand? The hand is here. Let's look at some shapes that are formed like this. Here. Mine's different. Fix it. Don't worry about it. The more you practice, the better you get. And yeah, I haven't practiced this kind of stuff for a while, so it's not that good. But anyway. Hope to help, and thanks for watching.